Meantime, President Trump announcing former Secret Service Special Agent Dan Bongino will be the next deputy director of the FBI. The president congratulating Bongino, saying, quote, "Great news for law enforcement and American justice." Dan Bongino, a man of incredible love and passion for our country, has just been named the next deputy director of the FBI by the man who will be the best ever director, Kash Patel. As a Secret Service agent, Bongino served on the presidential details for former presidents Barack Obama and George W. Bush.
No one's done more to expose the deep state than me. I'm not going to allow you to be misled.
Every single day. Every single day, ladies and gentlemen, is a new golden era. And we are here right now, live, as Dan Bongino takes the chair at the FBI. Little did I think that life could get better after we were physically in the room at the White House for Kash Patel swearing in, and then celebrated with Kash Patel afterwards. This long-fought battle, ladies and gentlemen, is now reaching its absolute apex as Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino take the chair to dismantle the deep state. They thought that they'd be able to kill Donald Trump. They thought they'd be able to assassinate him and rid the entire political ecosystem of Donald Trump. They did everything they possibly could to take this man out. And now he has come back with a vengeance. They could have let Donald Trump just ride off into the sunset. And now President Trump has put together what is a UFC title fight card of the greatest fighters, dare I say, WWE, Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, the greatest team assembled, the Marvel's Avengers of destroying the deep state. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Bongino, who is our friend, our ally in this, and somebody that we've known for a very long time. I want to get the top of the show, please. All right? So, producers, I want to get the top of his show. Okay? Dan Bongino right now is explaining this decision. And we're going to bring that to you for the first time ever. We've never done this, but we feel like this is a historic moment, and it's worth taking an opportunity and letting Dan speak for himself. Yes. And so, given the fact that we stream at the same time as Dan, and as somebody who's been a mentor for us in this industry, we feel like it's our obligation to let Dan speak for himself on this. And so our producers say we are ready. Bongino is right now explaining this earth-shattering decision. And so without further ado, let's go to Dan.
How do you start today's show? No, I howl. Jasmine's sitting there kind of laughing. Like, what do you say? Hey, guys, Monday morning. Well, let me give you a weekend update. Quite the weekend update. Kind of probably the most interesting weekend update ever. And the interesting thing about this weekend update is producer Jim, at least on the radio show, is not going to have to run the let's take a brief interlude into Dan's personal life, because my personal life is no longer personal. Folks, I'm sure by now you've heard the news. Wait, let me just, do I have it? Oh, no, I already took it. Sorry. Someone gave me the man card, gave me like an actual man card one day. Like it's a little, looks like a credit card, kind of a joke, obviously. So let me just turn that in right now because this may be a little bit emotional, and let me apologize in advance. I was home last night, and I'm sitting there. I was watching a show. I didn't even know what I was watching. Food That Built America or something like that. And I was falling asleep because it had been a really long day. Now you know why. And some of you kind of understand why the show had a different tone over the last couple of weeks. And I got a call from the president, and he couldn't have been nicer. And I obviously keep the contents of it between us, but I think you get the gist about what it was about. And kind of broke down a bit because it was, this is now real. So President Attorney General Bondi and now Director, gosh, that sounds good to say, FBI Director Kash Patel offered this role, a role I expressed an interest in. And ladies and gentlemen, I told you, you see, it's hard for me. I'm going to accept the role proudly as the Deputy Director, the number 2 spot at the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Folks, it's a lot to walk away from. I will tell you everything what happened within reason, and then I got a show to do, and I'm going to tell you what's going to happen with the show. So it's going to be a pretty wild ride today. Man, do we have a lot to talk about. I'm going to play for you in the beginning, too, a speech I gave that someone sent to me from 11 years ago. And you'll see why I decided to make this decision. So a lot to do today. Thank you so much for kind of a big audience here right away out of the chute. So thank you very much. I love you guys. And Bongino Army out there, I hope you understand. I got a couple of negative comments. Dan, you should have let us know. I hope you understand about this. This is not you do not ever get ahead of the President of the United States, the Attorney General, and the Director of the FBI. You don't do that. Not when you take positions like that. It's not the right thing to do. So now you understand. Today's show sponsored by...
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's Dan's open. Now, we've obviously explained before that Dan Bongino is somebody who's been a mentor to us in this space. I've said this publicly. I've said this privately. I've said this on Dan's show, actually, when we did a show together at the RNC convention, which I'd love to play that clip, actually, because Dan previewed this for us. If you were paying attention, Dan previewed this for all of us when he said, when President Trump asks me, I will go. Where President Trump asked me to go, I will go. And Dan previewed the FBI, actually. Everyone thought that it was going to be the Secret Service. It was the FBI. But it's emotional watching this for Dan. There is not a single person on planet Earth who cares more about federal law enforcement and righting that ship than Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino has been a victim of this weaponized law enforcement. Dan Bongino has been gone after. His Rumble show has been gone after. Dan Bongino has been demonetized. Dan Bongino has been deplatformed, much like Kash Patel, who was the first person who got a knock at the door from the January 6th committee for subpoena. And many other members of the Trump team. Dan Scavino is one of those guys. Another Dan that we just love, Dan Scavino, Dan Bongino. We've actually mixed him up on the show before. It's another one of those guys that has been persecuted. And of course, President Trump, who ate a bullet along with having to eat the bullet physically and metaphorically when the feds raided his house, attacked his family, threatened him with 457 years in prison, the total bankruptcy of everything he had built. They were talking about seizing his skyscrapers. Do you remember that the state of New York planned on taking Trump Tower from him? So all of these men have a physical axe to grind against this level of weaponization. All of these men have suffered and survived the metaphorical and literal assassination attempts by the sick, dark, demonic forces inside of our federal law enforcement, and so they are dead set to destroy that system. Quick word on Dan and our producers. Obviously, Dan's show is on Rumble. Dan's show streams live on Rumble. I'm very interested in hearing what happens with Dan's show, but we're not going to crib his ad reads or anything like that. We respect Dan so very much, and this is why. Before we ever had a streaming show, before we ever had an audience at scale, we were working with Dan. And I was working with Dan the way that I'd worked with Andrew Breitbart and Tucker Carlson and Glenn Beck. And we were working with Dan to help just maximize his social media presence because this is what I did professionally. And Dan has been one of those rare people who are virtually non-existent in this world, who has helped me out and our team out without asking for anything in return. He never demanded, dollars or clout or retweets or anything. He never asked to be compensated for the hours on the phone that he spent with me talking through various contracting and relationships and the streaming ecosystem, which is a wild game, man. He gave generously and regularly and sometimes without warning, calling us to give us great and sound advice. And so I owe Dan Bongino a lot. And I'm deeply, deeply thankful for his wisdom in this, and a wisdom that was given out of the generosity of his heart. And there are some people, final word I'll say on this, on the personal relationship with Dan, there are some people in this industry who I don't think give Dan the amount of credit that he deserves for helping them out and for trailblazing. And we don't want to be one of those shows. We deeply, deeply respect and are thankful for Dan Bongino and for the path that he torched and bulldozed for the rest of us, oftentimes at his own detriment, and for the wisdom that he generously shares with us, and the protection, frankly, that comes from having Dan be the guy that muscles his way through the jungle first, right? And so we're going to be one of those shows that remain totally grateful and respectful of our elders and the people that trailblaze. And so we're thankful for Dan. We're thankful to join Dan on his program at the RNC. We were just random. We were walking. This wasn't planned. We were walking by, and Dan goes, "Yo, Benny, get over here!" And so he literally pulls us in and sits me down. And this is what I asked him when we were live on his show. Here we go. Every single morning, we're very, very online. I got my entire production team here. Yes. Every morning at the top of our feed is dozens of people calling for you to be put in charge of a special task force to reform the Secret Service. Every single morning.
I think you and I know the boss pretty well. We were at the UFC with him, right? And I just had Kash Patel on. And I think my take on it is this. This is hilarious. Benny just takes over his interview with me on my own show. But that's cool. I actually enjoy that. Yeah, I like that. I think my take on it is, and you do the same thing. The boss calls and asks you to serve your country. You do it. And I mean, I wouldn't do a salary or anything like that. But there are a lot of good people out there. I'm not the only one. And I really hope if it's not me, which, I hope he can find someone else. I think after this weekend, you and I are both WTF, over.
If you were paying attention, and maybe I should have been paying attention more, what did he say? When I said, "Are you going to join the administration? Are you going to serve President Trump in the administration in official capacity?" He says, "Well, Kash Patel was just on the show." And I was just talking about this with Kash Patel. This is why I like exactly what Dan said. He told us the future. Were we listening? 6 months ago, Dan told us what was going to happen. He locked it down. And he said, this is what's going to happen. Kash Patel was on the show. When Trump says serve, I'm going to show up and serve, brother. This is Bongino. He told us what's up. He told us what was up. So we were planning on spending the entire show talking about Kash Patel and our weekend. And we had plenty to talk about because we were with Kash every step of the way in D.C. And it was really, really exciting. We were physically at his swearing-in ceremony at the White House. Oh, man, what an honor. Sat next to Jim Jordan and Ted Cruz. It was crazy. But this Bongino news, frankly, took us more by surprise. It's embarrassing, but it took us more by surprise than we weren't expecting it. I'll just speak on behalf of the entire production team. Dan kept this very under wraps, and all of the rumor mill and all of the kinetic energy was for Dan to be Secret Service director, and that did not materialize. But we have been paying now close attention, and it seems like Dan Bongino was laying the groundwork for this. And what he said in his open is that I asked for this. Dan Bongino asked for this specific position at the FBI. Now, we've gone through and we're going to demonstrate for you what Dan Bongino is about to do at the FBI. Because, well, since this announcement, we've been in touch and we've got, I think, a very good basis for why Dan Bongino is perfect for this and why he literally wrote the book on it. Okay? But first, ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, right now, the golden era gets more golden by the day, and it is time for you to make sure that you are prepared for it. There are going to be a lot of really exciting opportunities in this time, and that's why American financing is right for you if you find yourself in debt, given the Biden years. And unfortunately, statistics show that a greater number of Americans are in debt than ever before. Ensure that you are able to get yourself up and out and take advantage of this moment. Ladies and gentlemen, do not be burdened by high credit card balances, carrying interest rates in the 20s or even the 30s. If you're a homeowner and you're stuck in the cycle of mounting debt, you need to call my friends at American Financing. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are saving homeowners an average of $800 a month, and they can help you with your hard-earned money. Put it back where it belongs in your bank account. Call American Financing today and take control of your financial future. 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219. AmericanFinancing.net/Benny. All right, ladies and gentlemen. It's very interesting. So our producers. So we were taking Bongino, top of Bongino's show live. My producers are going to get us his positions. What I really want is his thought process on what he's about to do, right? What he's about to do at the FBI, and how this materialized. So producers, please make sure that we got that, and that we can sort of pop on over, because I want to hear directly from Dan. We can talk about our relationship the entire show. It would be, I think, a relatively boring show, talking about the ins and outs of this industry. But again, as I've said, Dan has been a mentor, and we just couldn't possibly be happier. Now, we were already coming off of a massive high. We were at CPAC this weekend, and we if we leave the studio and we leave the show, our first commitment is always going to be to you and to this stream. This is the fastest growing streaming show right now in the country, and we are not going to take that responsibility lightly, and we are not going to shy away from our responsibilities to hit and deliver news. If we take the day off the show, which we did on Friday, we're going to make sure that we are grinding. We spent the entire time up in Washington, D.C. Spent the entire time in Washington, D.C. and got it. This is a note from our producers. Our producers are clipping the Bongino show right now. And so we're going to show you, we're going to sort of segment out what Dan's talking about live, and then we'll run it here. Again, Dan Bongino has a wildly successful, most watched streaming show on Rumble. And shout out to our Rumble audience, shout out to Dan, shout out to our partners there. It's just incredible what Dan has been able to build there. It's been parabolic what he's been able to build. And he's stepping away from all of it. Why don't we pop up the Trump announcement, if we could, just to sort of lay the groundwork here. If you are needing to be caught up on all this, President Trump and Kash Patel making ovations towards Dan Bongino. This was 9 p.m. last night. Trump drops this thermonuclear weapon, this thermonuke on the entire news ecosystem. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Great news for law enforcement and American justice. Dan Bongino, a man of incredible love and passion for our country, has been named the next deputy director of the FBI. Taking a quick diversion here, this does not need Senate confirmation. So in case you're wondering if we were going to build up to one of these bloody Senate battles with Dan sitting there having to listen to these mewling geriatric hospice patients, talk about their biggest donors and how Dan's going to destroy them. Nope, not going to happen. This can just happen clean away, right? Directly from inside of the department itself with the approval of the president. So, very good. One of those little things you worry about, right? Having been live for, I don't know, Klein, 50,000 hours at these confirmation hearings, literally for every hour of every major confirmation hearing, this show has been live. We will be your front seat to the golden era. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan will not have to go through that humiliating process. And it wasn't humiliating for anyone other than Adam Schiff, right? It was getting completely nuked to his face from Pam Bondi. This is why you were censured, right? Among many other embarrassments for Adam Schiff. And oh boy, do we have some fire for Adam Schiff in the gut? Do we have some gunpowder in the gut for Adam Schiff later in the show? But anyway, sorry, I'm just wanting to clear this with you. We will not have to go through any bloody confirmation battle with Dan Bongino. He's the man. He's in the lock. All right? The man who will be the greatest FBI director ever, Kash Patel, says Donald Trump. Dan has a master's degree in psychology from City University of New York and an MBA from Penn State. He's a member of the New York City Police Department, New York's finest, highly respected special agent with the United States Secret Service, and is now one of the most successful podcasters in the country, something that he's prepared to give up in order to serve. Working with our great United States Attorney General Pam Bondi and Director Patel, fairness, justice, law, and order will be brought back to America quickly. Congratulations, Dan, says President Trump last night, dropping a nuke on the news cycle here. There are these, poor Alex knows it. There are these moments where you're like, oh, okay, we're just going to change the entire show. Like the show that we've built out, we're just going to trash that, and then we're going to do this. That sometimes happens 5 minutes before the show, to the delight of all of our production team. But anyway, here we are. Donald Trump following up with this quickly afterwards, saying that Dan Bongino is flanked by his incredible family that gives him his superpower, something that we certainly feel on this show, that Dan Bongino is a father, a loving husband, and he will do an incredible job. Kash Patel this morning sounding off. Now, this was at 8 a.m. this morning. Kash Patel coming over the top on President Trump with his announcement. Obviously, this is, the full dynamics, I'm not exactly sure, but based on our entire weekend with Kash Patel, like physically with Kash, Trump is going to give Kash the team that he wants and the reign that he wants at the FBI. And so Kash Patel is getting what he wants. This is clearly a pick that Kash wanted. Kash was also a regular on Dan Bongino's show. The two men know each other and have tremendous respect for each other. Kash Patel at his new FBI director X account. Man, that looks good, doesn't it? That looks fresh, doesn't it? Tremendous news for our law enforcement and the future of American justice. I'm proud to welcome Dan Bongino as next deputy director of the FBI. A warrior and lifelong public service, Dan has dedicated his career to protecting this country, beginning with his time as an NYPD, serving in the toughest precincts, the 75th, before spending time as decades as special agent, United States Secret Service. His leadership and integrity, deep commitment to justice, make him an ideal choice to lead the FBI at this critical time. He is a cop's cop. Pam Bondi, our new Attorney General, we are assembling a team focused on restoring public trust, upholding the rule of law, and ensuring that justice is served. Dan is stepping away from his incredibly successful career because he believes in one mission. Together, we are ready to put that mission first. Welcome aboard, Dan. The country needs strong leadership, and I know that you will serve with honor and distinction and dedication. Ladies and gentlemen, what a incredible endorsement by Kash. Going viral. Look at him, 1.1 million views. Look at him go. Okay. So the team has assembled. It's better than anything the WWE. It's better than anything the UFC. It's like, it literally is the dream team. Speaking of the UFC, Dan Bongino was there at the John Jones fight, right, with Trump. So it's like freaking awesome. So we win. They lose. Deep state on literal life support. Okay. So let's talk really quick. Let's do like sort of a cruise through what we were able to experience together at CPAC. We were really excited to speak at CPAC. We're thankful for our partners at CPAC that let us give a solo speech here. And obviously, we had a great time. I want to apologize in advance for two things. One, we wish we could have just like live streamed the whole thing. We actually had a production meeting this morning. Like how can we better bring these moments to the audience? We did our very level-headed best to bring everything we possibly could to you in the moment. And then two, I was in disguise as CPAC. I was wearing this goofy suit and tie combination. It was my golden era suit and tie combination. The explanation for all this, and I like the black t-shirt. I rock the black t-shirt. The explanation for the suit and tie was one, I like the golden era gold tie. Two, we're interviewing like the vice president, right? We were interviewing Pam Bondi. We were going to Kash Patel's swearing in at the White House. Here we are with the director of national intelligence. We're like, we had to, there's like, I'm not Elon Musk yet. It's like, right? Like we're not, like Elon has this very specific vibe where he can walk around in a black tech support t-shirt, right? And a hat and a gold chain and a chainsaw and stunner shades. Like Elon has this like vibe. Maybe we're getting there someday, okay? Not claiming we're going to be the world's richest or most successful man. We're just saying like maybe someday I'll be able to like walk in and out of these government buildings and do these meetings and like do them in a t-shirt. I'm not there yet. I'm still sitting next to JD Vance. JD Vance says, "Yeah, let's do an interview." And I'm like, and the White House is like, "You're invited. Come into the White House for Kash Patel." I'm like, "I got to wear a suit." You still have that kind of, I still got that like good Midwestern boy woven into me. So there we are. All right. I did wear the suit. And I know that like, I know this is, it's hard to recognize. It's hard to recognize. Insurance salesman. Look at this guy. That's right. I'm sorry. We apologize. We were in disguise. Okay. Anyway, we had a great time. We had a great time with the speech. Then, of course, the highlight was being there for Kash Patel's swearing in, man, and then being there to celebrate with Kash. It was so awesome. Kash told us while this photo is being taken, Kash leaned into me and goes, "Wait till you see what we're about to do on Monday." Which I think was the Bongino announcement, but maybe we're waiting. Maybe there's more to come. I have a little birdie telling me there's more to come. So this is like, this was Kash saying, "Wait till you see what's next." We got to chill with some of our favorite people. Jim Jordan, Mike Davis. Look at this. Our producer, Danny, wrote a perfect caption for this photo, which is Kash Patel just showed us his enemies list. Game over. Was awesome. Yeah. And we got to do a lot of meetings at the White House. We met with a ton of teams at the White House. We have so much incredible content coming your direction. You are sitting in the front seat to the golden era right now on this show. We just want to say thank you. We will deliver. And speaking of golden era, here are some golden fries at the White House. No, this is not a joke. As I was eating this, RFK walked by me. This is not a joke. Why don't I have a photo? Because I thought it would be creep. Because you're in the West Wing. There's this giant sign that says, "Don't take photos." So I snapped a little photo of this. There's this big sign that says, "Don't take photos. Let people like walk in and out." But I was sitting here and there's this meme of RFK like glaring at you when you open your fridge in the middle of the night, right? Or when you open up a bag of Cheetos and RFK like pops out and he's like, "Hey, put those down, fat ass." Right? And he literally did that to me in real life. I was eating this in the West Wing, and RFK walks by, and he just kind of glares at me, looking at what I'm eating. I got the meme in real life from RFK. Now, it was worth it, okay? I do my best to be on the straight and narrow. I try to be healthy. I want to be healthy for my family, my kids, and everything like that. I'm married to a Maha mom, like the one of the OG Maha moms. All right, that's my wife. Yeah. So I'm not going to apologize for eating this hamburger. It's called the West Wing Burger. That's what this is. You have to order off the special menu. You have to call ahead and order, and they make this in this teeny little kitchen down there, and they make it for you and they give it to you. I'm not going to apologize because look at that seal. He's got a burned-in presidential seal on the top of the freaking burger. All right? Have you even lived in the golden era if you haven't eaten one of these? So no, RFK walked right by me with Brooke Rollins. They took a photo right afterwards in front of the White House. RFK walked right by me and glares at me for eating this. And I said, "You know what, RFK? I need a pass. Dude, RFK ate McDonald's with Trump on the jet. We all saw the photo. It was like a hostage. It was like an ISIS hostage photo. RFK ate McDonald's with Trump. So if RFK can break the rules for Trump, I'm going to freaking break the rules in the West Wing. Okay. The end. Speaking of breaking rules, so we have the live stream of Kash Patel. I'm just going to go zip quickly through this. We have the live stream of Kash Patel that we did from inside the Senate. First streamer ever. I'm telling you, the front seat to the golden era, we will bring it to you. We're ALX, we're running out of friends. Next thing, they're going to appoint ALX and Klein. He's going to put ALX and Klein, okay? Klein's going to become like head of all streaming in the entire federal government and the technician of all streaming in the federal government. And, you know, ALX is going to ALX is going to be the next Big Balls. Okay? Next is Big Balls. Big Balls is going to crash out and they're going to like, okay, who's next? And they're going to be Big Balls with a Z. Or Big Balls with an X. Big Balls. Okay? It's insane. Graham Allen, who's also our homie. Graham Allen's now at DOD. Bongino. Kash. What? We're running out of guests like on the show. It's unbelievable. Anyway, the point is that we promise you we will be the front seat to the golden era for you. We will be the golden era. And we proved that, okay? And we're very proud of it. At what was pulling this off with literal duct tape and paper clips, a stream inside of the Senate's office. Here's how it goes down. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, who's a homie on the show, he goes, you want to come chill with me in my office during the Kash speech? And of course, we're going to say, well, what can we do? Let's do a stream for the audience. We just had a laptop and like one mic, and we did a stream. It was a record-breaking stream inside the senator's office. Record-breaking because it was the first time in history that a major streamer was streaming from inside of a Senate office during a vote, with the two senators who left the stream to go cast the deciding votes for Kash Patel came back and spiked a freaking football on stream. So here's just a very, very short little highlight reel of how special this was for us. Let's go.
Because there's a whole host of people that take credit and should have the credit for why we're able to get these nominees.
Going from the senator's office. This is amazing.
Oh, I work.
There it is. Mike Lee just did the thumbs up. They're going to do their votes. They were right here with us, and then we watched them and sent them to make it. There's 50. We need 51. Mike Lee's doing it. We need 50. That's it. Boom. We got it. It's Mike Lee and Mark Wayne Mullen. They're the ones who got Kash over the finish line in racehorse victory style. Yes! You did it! You actually did. You were the vote. You were the vote.
Mike technically voted after me. So.
But you were the one that did 50.
I was the 50th, yes.
You did it. That was the great camera work right there. It's just literally moving the laptop screen up. Yeah, it's amazing. But you know what? Like, we had hundreds of thousands of people watching concurrently. So thank you. Listen, what matters, like, is we got it done. We get the work done. We freaking let her rip. And we made history, and it was so much fun to do it together with you. Now, we got a chance, again, the reason why I was wearing a suit, you want to be respectful. We've got a chance to interview JD. JD made some major news in our interview with him. JD's team says, hey, you want to like grab us after our speech and we can like chill out backstage? And so we just, again, let her rip. What do you think about that little rat man Zelensky? We all hate this guy. He's being a real dick to Donald Trump. This flew. Here we go.
Oh, you said yesterday, made a lot of news, bad-mouthing Trump, not a good idea for Zelensky.
Of course not.
What's the thought process here?
Well, look, I mean, President Zelensky, his country wouldn't exist without the generosity of the United States of America. So say thank you. And if you disagree with the president, pick up the phone and call him or call one of our great diplomats. Don't go on a media tour around Europe bad-mouthing the president of the United States. It's insulting. It's insulting to him. It's insulting to me. It's insulting to the American people. And by the way, it's stupid. All of us who know the president would tell you that bad-mouthing him in public is not the way to get President Trump to change his mind. So I think Zelensky needs to have some better consultants.
I'm so happy that we are over 6 feet tall, because this is a tall administration, and this would be like a guaranteed moment to be super embarrassed. If I was one of those streamers, and a lot of streamers like 5 feet tall, if I was one of those guys, this shot would look absurd. Can you please confirm to the audience, Klein, that I was not standing on a box here?
No, you're talking.
Okay, was not standing on a box. Here we go. Look at the team. Look at the team of alphas. This is the crew we roll with. Okay, there's Killer Klein over there. You got Danny. You know ALX. All right, this is the team of alphas. Geez, ALX and Klein are taller than me. Okay, so we're holding it down. All right, we're an alpha squad, holding it down. A number of other incredible members of the team that we shout out all day and night. But listen, you don't want to be the short little guy interviewing JD Vance, who's 6'2" probably, right? JD Vance freaking tall, okay? And JD Vance sending those mean tweets, baby, sending those mean tweets, letting him dry. Say, who does the mean tweets? I would argue, pound for pound, and ALX is obviously our ex-specialist on the program, but pound for pound, that on the platform X, okay, Donald Trump's the meanest on Truth Social, but on the platform X, JD Vance is the meanest member of the administration. The mean tweets have fallen to JD. He's calling members of Congress dummies. He's literally picking flame wars and punching and brutalizing people, getting them to delete their accounts. JD, who comes up with the mean tweets? Let's go.
You write the tweets, or you write the mean tweets? Are they you?
I do write the tweets. Yeah, no, it's again. I said out there. One of my wife's pieces of advice to me was that don't be filtered. Don't let other people write your tweets. So yes, I write my own tweets. So both the good ones and the bad ones, I take responsibility for.
Hell yeah! All right. It was a really fun back and forth with JD. Please watch the full thing. It's up on our X account. All these clips went thermonuclear, viral. We're putting it together, man. We're putting it together in a way that gives instant access to the administration, and that's what we want, right? We don't want some long documentary that takes 10 weeks to edit. We want to bring you instantly into what is happening right now in your administration. This is what we were meeting with the White House teams. We were meeting with White House digital and comms teams, and meeting with all the press teams. We're locking in to ensure that you can get front seat access to what's actually going on, and do it in real time. That's the tough part. That's the tough part was that we were in the back of a car, going from thing to thing to thing, and we were making sure that you could keep up with us, and we're going to get even better at that. But make sure that you are digitally present with us at all times. And what does everybody care about right now? Well, today is the first working day of Kash Patel as director of the FBI. What have they all promised? The Epstein list. What did we ask Pam Bondi about? Let's go.
Scaring bad guys is something Kash has talked about a lot, and you have when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein and the people who are predators in this country. Yeah. They've been given a pass, and a lot of Americans think these guys have got a pass for a long time, and maybe even are still being protected right now. Where are we at with the Jeffrey Epstein list, the documents? And Kash has made a lot of public statements about this. Where are we at?
I was briefed on that yesterday. I can't talk about that publicly, but President Trump has given a very strong directive, and that's going to be followed.
Wow. Okay. So
a lot of documents.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So people can expect actual movement on this. It's not just empty promises.
Oh, Donald Trump doesn't make empty promises.
Yeah, right.
I think promises made, promises kept, and that's why we're all there to carry out his directive about making America safe and prosperous.
Oh hell yeah, man! Oh, so awesome just to be able to roll with. Just be able to roll with Kash and roll with Pam Bondi. And again, it's an administration filled with all of our homies. Speaking of people who are not invited on this show and are not our homies, Letitia James, who effed around and was one of the first to find out. I don't think she's going to be the last. One of the first to find out, got hit hard by Pam Bondi, like a freight truck. One of Pam Bondi's first actions was to sue Letitia James for creating a criminal safe haven in the state of New York against federal law. And Pam Bondi ain't letting up. Here we go. All gas, no brakes. Let's go.
You sued Letitia James and New York. Mm-hmm. And you said, enough of the sanctuary cities, right? And they're kicking and screaming right now, but this is a new sheriff in town.
Yeah, and Kathy Hochul. And so we started, of course, with Illinois, Chicago, and the state of Illinois. And what did we say? If you don't listen, you're next. You're going to follow federal law. And New York ignored us, and they were next. And then if you're another state and you're not listening, we're speaking loud and clear, you're going to be next. It's pretty basic. We want to protect the citizens of not only their states, but every state in this country. You know, and when you're seeing just New York alone, Benny, look at all the violent crime happening. Look on the subways. Look on the streets. Yet they're protecting people. Laken Riley is one of countless young women and kids and adults who have been killed by these violent gangs that are in our country, and no state is going to protect a criminal. No longer.
Every day you wake up and you're like, am I hallucinating? It's like, what's happening? What's happening right now is what would have been a dream for the last 4 years. It's incredible. And the left doesn't know how to deal with it because they don't have any, they have no computation power for what's happening, because what is our dream is their nightmare. And more than it reaches like dream level for us, like this is the depths of despair. Democrats were walking around Capitol Hill. We were in the Senate. We were roaming the Senate. Dude, Democrats were walking around like depressed. Like these guys like look like the opening scene of a Zoloft commercial. Oh, there's like the big dark clouds and like cartoon clouds and like dark, like gray matter everywhere, downtrodden, like slumped over. Christmas time is here. Like walking like, well, it's Charlie Brown. Like there's like Charlie Brown walks. You see these libs walking around Capitol Hill. You've never seen anything like it. It's so sad. They cut off all the USAID funding. So like all the publicists had to go, all of pretty signage, all the social media people, all the Hollywood people that were getting paid off in the background to promote their stuff. It's all gone. It's incredible. And so they're left with these lunatics roaming the streets, and we happen to actually walk into one randomly. So we're not walking out of the street. We were walking out of EPA. We have a bigger piece on the EPA with Lee Zeldin coming out. Walking out of EPA, and there's a big protest. We don't like Elon. We don't like Elon. So we like ask him, like, okay, why don't you like Elon? Because he's a racist. Oh, really? Why is he a racist? He's deporting people. Oh, okay, well, what do you want to see happen to Elon? Check this out.
Elon Musk were here right now, what would you tell him?
Go back where you come from.
America or
where he came from?
South Africa?
South Africa?
South Africa, right?
Oh, gotta go.
Hey,
go back to South Africa.
Go back to Africa.
Go back to South Africa.
Go back to South Africa. He's not a citizen. He came here illegally and stayed, then got citizenship, I believe.
So go back to Africa.
Go back to Africa.
What would you tell him?
He's an unelected, greedy, selfish bastard, and please go away. Nobody elected him. Nobody voted for him. We don't want him. He's a racist and he's a Nazi. This is not what America is about.
You said to go away.
Yeah.
Where would you like him to go?
Go back to South Africa. His grandfather left Canada to specifically go to South Africa because he loved the racist policies of South Africa. Go back to South Africa.
Go back to Africa.
As an immigrant, telling another immigrant, go back to where he came from, because I am not trying to change America for the worse. I'm not a greedy, selfish person wanting to take everything for myself. Somebody who has $404 billion is going to go into Social Security and tell my grandfather or my disabled cousin that $800 a month is too much, and you have $404 billion that you will never spend in your lifetime. Go, hey Elon, shoot yourself into the sun.
Okay, and she would go on to tell us that she likes Luigi and she actually wants the end of Elon Musk. Or you go on to like threaten Elon Musk's life, telling us in a subsequent clip that she wants Elon's going to have to increase the number of bodyguards he has. So this is the absolute state of the left. We've been telling you that these people are now going to literally descend into violent, frothing at the mouth, like animalistic behavior, and here it is. She's sitting there with a Luigi hat.
Is this a Luigi hat?
Yes, it's yes.
Luigi Mangione?
Eat the CEO.
Yeah. So this is what she was. This is what she was doing. This is what she was doing. It's like sitting there telling us how much she actually like threatening Elon Musk's life. Not a good idea. First off, this lady is a immigrant. We don't know if she's a criminal alien or not. We don't know her immigration status, but she's a guest in this country from Trinidad. She's sitting there talking about how many members of her family are on welfare programs. Yeah, we need to make them afraid. How many members of her family are on welfare programs in this country? It's a bold strategy. See if it pays off for you. I don't think this is the time, lady. I think you should maybe like read the room. The Viceroy was with us as well. Ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder that the person who will be giving the nominating speech for the Viceroy is me. We were just practicing, okay? This is what comes next. This is what comes next in the sacred timeline that we are currently living in. Exciting moments. Dan Bongino, ladies and gentlemen, on his show. We had so much good news to bring you about the trip to DC, and now it's literally topped by even better news with Dan Bongino getting in the chair as the first act for Kash Patel. All of the energy that is required to bring you this news comes through us into our veins. Blackout Coffee, ladies and gentlemen. Blackout Coffee is the coffee that powers our program. Now, there are some members of our team that are addicted to little nicotine pouches. Not me. Okay, no. Blackout Coffee for me. The pure, beautiful black coffee that pulses through my veins gives me the energy to rock into the golden era. And this is a moment of energy. You got to be able to capture it, seize it, grab it, weaponize it, right? We're going to be there. Blackout Coffee's been there for us. Their grit and determination, refusal to back down makes them a must drink, and their coffee is delicious. I drink my coffee black. Haven't put sugar or cream in my coffee in a very long time. Ladies and gentlemen, Blackout Coffee's got your back. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Use the coupon code Benny for 20% off your first order. Taste the coffee that doesn't just wake you up, it fires you up. That's blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Let's freaking go. Here's Dan Bongino, ladies and gentlemen. A second ago on his show, explaining what's really happening in his thought process on his programming and taking the deputy director of the FBI role.
It's not going to be the last show, but we've only got a few more left with you. So obviously we're going to be working with a team of people to make this transition from me, political commentator Dan, to deputy director of the FBI Dan. Those are different roles, require different skills. Skills I have and have used before and I plan to use again. It's going to hurt to leave you. I'll discuss over the course of the coming days. I'll be with you for a little bit longer on radio and on my show. I will discuss exactly what's going to happen. It's not going to impact Vita or Haley's content at all. My wife has been running the business for a long time. I don't get involved with the business at all. I do the talking. But I want to ask you, who's next? Who's next? This isn't just about me, folks. The do matters. Who's next? You know, I said last week, and a couple of media critics commented, I said, we're all going to have to take it on the chin a little bit. Now, do you see what I meant? I never got in this for the money or notoriety. Listen, I enjoy making money and that I can impact people's lives and that people come out and say nice things to me as much as the next guy. But if you think that's why I got involved in this, running as a Republican in deep blue Maryland, my life of activism and my time in the Secret Service, if you think I get into the Secret Service to get rich, and you don't know me and you haven't seen the government salary scale. But I am going in this clear-eyed. Vision of President Trump, Attorney General Bondi, and Director Patel. I am going to do my job to implement that vision. And I can tell you right now, we are going to try our best. Every single thing I have in me, every single strand of DNA cell in my body is going to be dedicated towards keeping this homeland safe, no matter what. No matter what, that's my job. We're going to reestablish faith in this institution. The good people there doing their job, hitting the streets, developing sources, we'll have your back. We are going to reestablish faith in this institution. The FBI belongs to the American people. Doesn't belong to me. Doesn't belong to anyone else but the American people. But this is the honor of a lifetime, and it's a serious mission. And I plan on implementing that vision.
So, well done, Dan. Well done, man. So much pride and joy watching all of this happen. Watching the Dream Team be assembled. You remember the 1992? Was it 1992, 1996 Dream Team? With the like greatest basketball players of all time. Yeah, and like just the photos themselves, you can't even believe are real, because of how the roster of talent is just multi-generational. And it was a sight to behold. It's just this moment that you just have to appreciate living through, and we certainly appreciate it right now. Is look at this. Maybe we do our own version of this actual poster. Here's the poster for the. This is the poster for the 1992? Yep. Yeah, all right. 1992 Dream Team. So this is what we're living through. So appreciate this moment, right? Appreciate this moment. I don't know which one of these guys is going to be... What do we got here? All right, you guys. Yeah, Jordan and Stockton and Malone and Johnson, Larry Bird, Scottie Pippen. Unbelievable. Which timeline, ladies and gentlemen, do you wish for Dan Bongino to go after first? Now, a reminder that Dan Bongino wrote the literal book on the crime network inside of the federal government. Bongino wrote this book called Follow the Money, which is a breakdown of the elements of our federal government that have created what is a weaponized deep state. And he goes for the heads of the snakes, as it were. The Bidens, the Obamas, Clapper, Comey. All of these individuals will now suffer at the mercy of Dan Bongino. He knows. He always brought the receipts. Dan Bongino, if you are familiar with the show, would spend thousands of hours breaking down Russiagate in meticulous detail. Like point by point, connecting the dots. Sometimes it'd take months from to connect all of the dots with Russiagate, right? But this is what a proper cop would do. Put together the evidence. Dan Bongino has used his platform to go scorched earth on the FBI. This is the clip that's going viral right now. This is the clip where Dan Bongino directly flames current FBI leadership for the Mar-a-Lago raid on Donald Trump. Certainly isn't the only clip where he does this, but it's the one where he goes in the absolute hottest. Let's go.
Nobody was held accountable.
I was passionate about it for a reason. How many freaking times are we going to let the FBI interfere in an election? I mean, this is supposed to be a constitutional republic. I'm not crazy, right? Like, this is supposed to be a representative democracy. Banana Republic. We're beyond a banana republic. We're into tin pot dictator third world stuff. This is embarrassing. At least Pravda didn't pretend to be anything but state apparatchiks. The FBI, and listen, I've been with you for a while. I work with a lot of decent guys. I'm done with the rank and file stuff too. I'm done with it. If you took part in this, anyone who took part in this, anyone, I don't care who you are, an analyst or an upper level manager, the next president who comes in office, they should schedule F as many people as they can in the federal government and fire every single person involved in this. Everyone. The receptionist in the FBI office who took a call on this should be fired. We are not a third world republic, supposedly. Sean, the difference between us and Kim Jong-un, right, is that we investigate crimes and then we look for people. We don't investigate people and then look for crimes. That is exactly what's going on. How many times are they going to investigate Donald Trump for how many different things before the American people wake up and realize this isn't an investigation of a crime in search of a person, but a person in search of a crime? And let me just add, one last thing on this, folks. I left my job. So no one's going to lecture me, oh, Dan, what would you do if you just do? There's no more we're just doing our job. You swore an oath to the Constitution. Have some balls, man. I left my job because I couldn't take what was going on. I gave up my pension and everything because something else mattered. You're not going to lecture me on anything. If you were involved in this constitutional abomination to our constitutional republic, you don't deserve your job today. And you will get no backing from me or anybody I know in the conservative movement going forward. You flush your credibility down the toilet.
Are you prepared for Dan Bongino press conferences at the FBI? I'm not sure I'm prepared for it. Are you prepared for that? Talking about what the rot is at the top and where it comes from, and Dan Bongino connecting the dots. And this is the clip that popped on our feed when it comes to the way that Dan Bongino meticulously goes through a series of and sequence of evidence. This is how he wrote his book, Follow the Money. And this is how he broke down the Biden crime family, leading to, oh baby, we got an unbelievable clip for you next. Here's the way that Dan Bongino presents evidence. Are you prepared for this behind an FBI dais? Yeah, let's go.
Has anyone bothered to ask why the son of the President of the United States seems to be the most valuable man in corporate America all around the world? Has anybody asked that? And guys, there's no excuses here as to why the media is still doing one of the biggest cover-ups in media history. Here, let me show you some. Here's the receipt. We have the receipt, guys. Here is the Hunter Biden receipt, signed by Hunter Biden. There's Hunter Biden's signature. Bill to Hunter Biden with Hunter Biden's laptop. Here's another one. Wait, I got more. This is like a court exhibit. Don't go anywhere, fellas. Here's a picture of Hunter Biden. Of Joe Biden and Hunter. I even circled Joe for you. That's not part of the picture. That's my Sharpie. There's Joe Biden with Hunter Biden's business partners that he says he never met. There was this kid, Steve, you may know him, Peter Ducey. Yeah. He's got the same last name as you. He asked Joe Biden a question during the campaign. Hey, man, you have any conversations with your son over these business deals? Nah, none of them. There's the picture. Right. There's the picture. Right. There's Joe Biden in the picture. I mean, what else do you need to know to interview this guy and ask him serious questions?
Are you ready for Dan to literally hold up the physical evidence on the from inside of the FBI with this face, with the badge? Like, are you ready? Oh man, I'm preparing you. We prepare you for the golden era. Here we go. Who's really responsible for all of this? Who is the guy in charge? There's one more step before we get to something that is really, really dangerous. The final step is the agents at work for the deception of the deep state. There are people that went and did the dirty work. Adam Schiff is the most scared man in America right now because of this.
Particularly good mood today. If you only knew. You ever hear that House on Fire song? It's one of his old songs. This guy's on fire, just like the Bailey song. That house on fire. He is on fire, Schiff. 100% success rate of failing. Why is Adam Schiff so worried? Folks, I strongly encourage you to go back and take another look today at the Russia collusion hoax. I know it's a story that's old and a lot of people want to move on. I'm going to be straight with you. I don't want to move on. We had the FBI in conjunction with the Department of Justice, officials in Congress, foreign governments, and intel people fabricate a story, invent a story that could have caused and done serious long-term harm to international relations with a nuclear-powered foe. It's kind of a big freaking deal. I'm not letting it go. And you listen to me. This is going to be very important in the coming days. I'm not letting this go. I want to find out what happened because it can never happen again. Not to a Democrat, not to a Republican, not to a Libertarian, not to any United States citizen. You do not get to alter or try to change the course of electoral politics by fabricating a story, hijacking the justice system then to give the patina of truth to a fake story. You don't get to do that. Why do I bring that up now? Because who is the ringmaster of that circus? Yes, Adam Schiff. And no, I'm not letting it go.
That's why Adam Schiff is the single most terrified man in the entire country, with one exception. Barack Obama. Now, Dan Bongino worked for Barack Obama. There's photos of Bongino opening up a door for Barack Obama when he was in the Secret Service. Dan Bongino did 12 years in the Secret Service. But he's also somebody who observed quite a bit. He's somebody who observed Hillary Clinton behind the scenes, and Obama behind the scenes. He saw so much. That's what makes him so incredibly dangerous. Dan Bongino observed the crimes. When you're in the Secret Service, you see these things, but you're not allowed to see them. Well, now Dan Bongino, it's his obligation to not only see these things, but take action. And listen to what Dan Bongino has to say about Barack Obama.
Spygate, Obama was in charge. Collusion hoax, Obama's in charge. The Hillary email scandal, Obama's in charge. The bribery scandal, Obama's in charge. There's a common thread. This isn't a conspiracy theory. What did I just say that's not factually accurate? Now, as this Biden scandal explodes with this allegation that he took a $5 million bribe as vice president, Obama's vice president, keep that in mind. Andy Biggs appeared on Fox yesterday. He was talking about these massive payoffs they have bank records of. They now have bank records. Nobody disputes the authenticity of these bank records flowing into the Biden Inc. crime network while he's vice president. Nobody disputes it.
Would you look at this? Do you think this man knows a little something about what was going on behind the scenes with Barack Obama? The man who's holding the door for Barack Obama? The hunters have become the hunted. It's been said on this program so many different times. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the hunt is on. Literally. Congressman Wesley Hunt is on our show live right now to talk about all of this. Let's go. Oh, Congressman.
That's one hell of an intro.
What a day. What a day. We thought we'd be talking about Kash Patel, and then over the top, President Trump just delivers Dan Bongino. I know you know these men very well. I know that as a combat veteran, as somebody who's served your country, as somebody who cares so very much about law enforcement, this has got to be one of the single greatest updates for you. And obviously, one final note, as somebody who cares about oversight for these agencies and who's hit brick walls, you've got to be a happy man this morning.
Well, you nailed it. You nailed it. The hunted has become the hunter. As my dad would always say, it's all good and fun until the rabbit got the gun. And now we are the rabbit, and now we have the gun. And you know what I love about Kash and what I love about Dan is like they have this intensity. They have this Homelander, I'm going to light you on fire look in their eyes all day, every day. That's exactly what this country needs to get us back on track. These are very serious people. These are very serious men that love this country, that want to get to the root of the problem to keep every single American safe. And you can hear it in their soul and their fiber and their being. And I know that feeling because that's how I feel about my country. I have chills right now watching all those clips because like this is the kind of serious men that we need to lead this country, that kind of toxic masculinity that we need back in our country to ensure that we have peace for the future, not just for our great nation, but for our allies. This is how you get peace through strength with strong men just like this. I am here for it. I know these men. I know their character. Their heart's in the right place. They want to deliver for the American people. They are turning away so much money. They could be doing so many other things, and yet they are choosing to serve this great nation again. The clip that you showed, I hope everybody watches this and watches their eyes. They love this nation, and they want to serve her again. And I'm here for it, brother.
It's amazing. Watch their eyes. Here we go. Let's go ahead. Here's
the
last the last thing you see before getting deported to the Epstein Island prison camp.
Oh yeah, that's good.
That's there good. It is. The FAFO. So what would you like to see in the FO, Congressman? What would you like to see them go after first? It's quite a target-rich environment, as they would say.
So people need to go to jail for this. Some of the acts that we've seen have been flat out treasonous. This is in our Constitution. And for decades, nobody was punished for the ill will for what they've done to this country. But I think we have a 4-year opportunity to really set the record straight as to how we were supposed to operate as a country when we have treasonous actors in our midst. So I am not saying that we should have a witch hunt. I think we need to go find the facts. I think we need to go find the crime. And then we go find the people that are responsible for the crime. And I think the American public is going to be very surprised. Hell, we won't be surprised because we've been talking about this for years. But the American public is going to be very surprised to see who is behind a lot of the tomfoolery that's been going on in our country. And as soon as those large dominoes start to fall, that's how you start to straighten this whole thing up and drain the swamp and get back to normal. You break the law, you go to jail. If you're treasonous, you go to jail. That's how people stop going to jail, because it serves as a deterrent. But for decades, we've done nothing. And these people have used our country, used our name, used your taxpayers, paid people off for decades. It's over. It's over. And now I understand why, and people should understand why. This is why they tried to kill our president, because the day of reckoning was coming. This is what they were fearing. And he is going to go after every single one of these people that have ill will toward our country and are trading on the name of the United States of America.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Why don't we pop up, Klein? Let's pop up that assassination image one more time. Let's go back to here, because we don't talk about this enough.
Unbelievable.
We know nothing, Congressman. We know nothing. Now, I know that the president obviously is quite motivated to figure out who put a bullet through his ear, and I know that Dan Bongino has gone up and testified before congressional committees about this.
Yes,
and that this is obviously going to be a large motivating factor in his work at the FBI, because somebody was able to get 8 shots off on the biggest footprint in the entire world, the President of the United States, the most powerful and famous man walking the earth today.
Famous man on earth. Yeah.
So what the hell? Like, why have we found nothing out about this? Would you ask Kash Patel and Bongino look into it?
They're going to look into this. I don't have to ask them to do it. They already know what time it is. And you articulated it very, very well, Benny. We know exactly what happened here. The reason why we ever heard anything about it is because the deep state doesn't want us to hear anything about it. It is just that simple. We have Elon Musk that's putting people in space for sport. This dude is launching rockets into the atmosphere and then returning them and catching them like chopsticks. And you mean to tell me that we can't figure out who tried to shoot at our president? We already know. We're not that stupid. And now it's an issue of having transparency with the American public and letting us know what's really going on. And once you expose these people, that's when it all stops. And at the end of the day, Benny, I want people to go to jail, but more importantly, I want this to just stop. I want all the craziness to stop. And one day I was flying with President Trump out to California, and that's the last time I saw Kash, actually, was in California at Coachella when I spoke before President Trump. And I remember him sitting on the plane and him being like, Wesley, revenge is not really my thing. I think that my success will be my revenge. And while I like that, I do still want to see some people go to jail.
That's right. You made a lot of news your last time on the program, Congressman, by saying that these people that went after President Trump had better prepare, because you will go to jail if you defy Congress and congressional subpoenas.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the last time that anyone saw Joe Biden was in Congress when Donald Trump was taking his oath of office. And nobody's seen him since. Dan Bongino wrote the book on Biden crimes.
Yeah.
Joe Biden didn't pardon himself. Can we expect with a Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Department of Justice, that maybe the Biden crime family and the way that they strip mined our federal government and used it to enrich themselves, that maybe there'll be an actual, real, legitimate investigation into Joe Biden?
I've had a lot of thoughts on this, and again, I'm just speaking for Congressman Wesley Hunt. These are kind of my thoughts.
Please.
If you look at the blanket pardons that he gave to everyone that was close to him, I think that was almost tantamount to him pardoning himself, Because if you look at the way he pardoned his family, his son, his brother, the people that had the direct interaction with all the crime, it's going to be very hard to get to the crime boss if he has insulated himself from direct contact with actual criminal action and behavior. That's kind of my thoughts. Like I watch Soprano, right? Like, you know, like Tony never interacted directly with people. He always sent it to Sylvia or the people. So I think that was kind of his strategy to inoculate himself from any further persecution. But I don't know. That's gonna be up to Dan. And if anybody's going to figure it out, if you saw those eyes, we're all going to find out.
Okay. Adam Schiff, your former colleague in the House, still currently in Congress.
What a winner, right? What a real winner.
Bongino saying, yo, I'm not letting this go. Here was Adam Schiff outside of the FBI building. And it's amazing this didn't work, Congressman. It's amazing that this didn't. This is what the Democrat Party is reduced to when you cut all the USAID funding. It's like the wizards, right? Standing in front, like, we demand to be taken seriously. And this is like Arrested Development. But Adam Schiff standing there, and is 2-for-1 LL Bean advertisement, and he's saying like, listen, I'm really scared. Should he be scared?
He should be terrified. He should be terrified. And he should be terrified from the standpoint of he had secret information that he knew about, and that he released secret information to the press. We got you. We know you've already admitted to that one small thing. That's just the tip of the iceberg to the collusion that we saw with him and other people in his party and the media and this whole Russian hoax. We know this, and that's not even new news to anybody. So if we could start with that, that is worth investigating. Imagine what else we're going to find. He better watch out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like saying that you've seen direct evidence that the president is a Russian agent.
Yes,
when you have a security clearance.
Yes. No, that's not how that works.
Yeah, these are obviously you're not allowed to do that. No. You can't just go and do that. That's a total and complete abuse of the clearance. It's an abuse of your office.
Yes, and as somebody like me that had a top secret clearance, I watched a lot of things that happen. I watched a lot of things that happen in Congress, actually, and I shake my head because that's not how you're supposed to behave, generally speaking, especially when you have a TSSCI and any kind of clearance at that level, at our level. But what he did was flat out egregious. Again, we're teetering here. We're talking about treason. I mean, these are very serious accusations and very serious crimes against our country, and you should pay for this kind of stuff. This is not a routine traffic stop here. Okay, this is not like a minor breaking and entering. I mean, these people are trading on the name of the United States of America and enriching themselves and trading our secrets with other nations and lying to the American people about information that they are privy to. This is wrong, and it's got to stop.
Finally, Congressman Barack Obama, man, it seems like Dan Bongino, if you go through sort of his catalog and you look at where he and Kash have both sort of pointed the vector of power for the modern day deep state, it would be Barack Obama, who fused the Democrat Party with the intel agencies. Suddenly, all of the left-wing protesters were out protesting in favor of the CIA, right? It's like they're in favor of USAID. It's incredible to see what's happened since the 1960s.
Yeah, remarkable.
Yeah. The man who reoriented all of it was Barack Obama. And there does seem like there's quite a bit of meat on that bone. Are we going to see some norm-breaking stuff here, right? Where former presidents might get put in the chair.
That's probably a tough call, if I'm being honest with you, to put a former president in prison. I mean, there's presidential immunity for a reason. This is not a banana republic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In many ways, we talk about witch hunts and how this country operates, and with no one being above the law, but going after the president and locking the president is going to be really tough. I'm going to be honest with you. It's just really hard to do. Now, can we expose the crimes? Yes. Can we have some transparency with the American people? Sure. Can we besmirch a reputation that deserves it? Of course we can. Of course we can. And we absolutely very well should. And then this should be a shot across the bow to all people and all future presidents that think that they're going to get off scot-free by selling out our nation. But the idea of us retroactively locking up our presidents, you ran a clip before about this, about Dan talking about this being a banana republic where you're going beyond a banana republic. We got to be careful with how we do that, period. Yep. Because if we do that for one person, then guess what? They're going to lock up President Trump. And I don't want to see that happen either when they get in power. However, do I want to expose them for their crimes, expose them for who they are? Of course I do.
I just have to ask a follow-up on that one, Congressman. As a curveball, Bill Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein. What's going to happen with that list, man?
Now,
is this going to be your exception?
You bring up a very good point. That absolutely. There's always exceptions to every rule. There's always exceptions to every policy. Now, I have 2 little ones at my house, 3 little ones at my house. If we're talking about child trafficking, if we're talking about the kind of issues that was going on at Epstein Island, well, those people, I hope they die and I hope they burn in hell. That's a whole nother conversation, that if that kind of detail gets exposed by some of these people, the presidency cannot save you from pedophilia. The presidency cannot save you from that kind of lewd behavior. So you're right. I draw a line there. I am just speaking high level about us retroactively putting presidents in jail. That's not something that we tend to do as a country. It's what they tried to do to President Trump. But if there are crimes that are certainly egregious enough, I'm open to it. And there's always exceptions to those rules.
Oh man, I mean, we were interviewing Pam Bondi and Kash this weekend. They said prepare. Pam Bondi told us the Epstein list is on her desk right now. She's going through it, and there's more documents than you can possibly imagine. And
the Epstein list, you could prove that kind of nefarious activity. From what I heard that went on down there, we're having a whole different conversation.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. Diddy, man, bad days for these guys.
Bad days for them, great days
Barack Obama's buddy, Diddy. Remember, it's Diddy. They did a bunch of content together, old content from like 2012. Diddy and Obama, it's so fun.
I remember that.
Ooh, man. Gotta be cooking. Ladies and gentlemen, you should be cooking with Congressman Wesley Hunt. Go follow the congressman on his X profile right here. 320,000 Americans. The congressman well on his way to 1 million subs. Let's go. We want every single one who's on this show fighting the good fight to have as much power as possible.
Thank you.
Go in and follow the great congressman from Texas, Wesley Hunt.
Of course.
See you, Congressman.
God bless you, man. Thank you for having me on.
Bless you. Klein, you found a very good meme. He deserves to die, and I hope he burns in hell. Just got this. There you go. This is the meme. This is the Congressman Wesley Hunt did the meme. He did the meme. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Bongino, new deputy director of the FBI, said this about those at Epstein Island. Here we go. That Epstein was an intel agent for a Middle Eastern country. Let's go.
About a year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share it, but the short story, but not who they are. It says, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that. That he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset, meaning his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know. But this person, who is a very, very good reporter, I mean, aces, right? Swore Epstein was either a witting or unwitting intelligence asset, and they may have had his plane wired up, and they're the ones who have all this stuff. So the point is, to sum it up, how do you know some of these countries aren't going to some of these power players who aren't making decisions? Because, hey, you wouldn't want this video out there, right? How do you know?
100%.
I mean,
let's get personal.
Well. There's this guy, you might have heard of him. His name is Matt Gaetz. He comes trotting onto our program a couple months ago, saying Epstein was clearly killed by a foreign government. He was allowed to be killed by a foreign government, by our government. Well, he was in federal lockup because Jeffrey Epstein was foreign intel. And here's Bongino saying the exact same thing on Tim's program. Wow, that's interesting. Boy, sure it'd be fun to look into that one. Man, that takes the investigation in a whole new direction, doesn't it? We'll see. Everybody says that Jeffrey Epstein's Mossad agent, that they were hoovering up intel on the most powerful Western allies, families, and royals, and presidents, and that all of this was intended to humiliate and to extort the American government. That's what people say. They've said it on our program. Ladies and gentlemen, now Dan Bongino, who would be in charge of all of this, right? That entire mop-up operation would go through the FBI. Dan Bongino is now second in command at the FBI. Sure, it'd be nice to have an FBI agent on the program to ask questions about this. Maybe somebody who was an FBI agent during the Epstein murder in a jail cell. Well, luckily, Kyle Seraphin is coming live right now with us. Let's go. Kyle, what's up, man? How you doing,
Benny?
We're rocking, baby. This has got to be an exciting day for you.
It's step one of a really big fight because, just getting in guys like Kash and getting Dan Bongino to the table, it's the beginning. I mean, a lot of people are looking excited, and I think that's good, and I think people can have a lot of energy behind that. But it's the same thing I told Kash before he even got the nomination. If you really want this job, you're inheriting a crime scene. We've got to be really serious about the animal that is the FBI. That institution wants to fight back with everything it has. And I hadn't considered this before, but there's a guy named J. Michael Waller, who's a think tank dude out of DC. And he was mentioning that a U.S. president has actually been taken down by the deputy director position before. The deputy director, historically, the place that Dan Bongino is going, that is a role that exists to protect the FBI from the director. So this might be a really interesting move, taking that piece off the chessboard. But institutionally, the FBI tends towards a thing that I would just call the status quo. It wants to protect the FBI. And so, yeah, these guys have their work cut out for them. Like, this is step one, and I get all the excitement, all the energy, and I've been seeing it as well. But at the same time, I'm very sober about it. I've got a slide sitting on my screen right now. 20 different investigations that have to happen internally just to get things started and figure out. And it's much bigger than Russia, and it's much bigger than some of the splashy stuff about the Epstein list. We're talking about 300 FBI agents that were assigned to FBI headquarters to investigate FBI agents who were conservative, who were veterans, who were Christians, who were problematic to the regime, that wouldn't just say yes and go get a COVID shot, that wouldn't just do what they were told when that was pushed down from DOJ and the Biden administration. And so there's been this big compliance purge, and I know Jim Jordan talked about it pretty dramatically, but it's a really, really big problem, and it's far bigger than anything that goes back. It starts with Obama, but it ends with institutional capture. So they're fighting an uphill battle against an animal that doesn't want to change.
So we've already seen some of the bloodletting at the FBI. Metaphorically, there have been some major layoffs, and has been a huge shakeup. You're saying that's not even, you're just scratching the surface there.
Yeah, so I like to push back. There's guys like Sean Hannity who have got out there and said, 90%, 95%, 99%, whatever number they make up, of the FBI is full of good men and women that just want to serve America. Yeah. And I say, okay, well, where were they? Where were they when things were going wrong? Yes. Where were they when a search warrant was being served at Mar-a-Lago? Yeah. Where were the teams? I want to know about the HRT teams. I want to know about the SWAT team that said, you don't need a SWAT team to go into a place that was protected by the U.S. Secret Service, and we don't want to serve the search warrant. We're going to sit this one out, boss. Find somebody else to do it. Who are those people? Because I've never heard of them. And if they were there, I would have heard them. I know people in Miami, and people just showed up and did it. I have friends that don't talk to me anymore because they went on that search warrant. I have friends from Washington Field who flew down in a plane from Washington, D.C. to go serve the search warrant on Mar-a-Lago. And one of the proudest moments I had was that the FBI removed me before they went and did that action, which I think was crossing the Rubicon. So when we talk about the good men and women of the FBI, it doesn't mean that there are not some. I got buddies that have worked in rural and remote, what we call RAs, satellite offices, and all they're doing is locking up bad guys. They're going after cartels. They're going after child traffickers. They're going after dealers. They're going after white-collar fraud. It's not always real sexy stuff. They're doing the work that you expect, and they have nothing to do with politics. And they've never been told to do something nasty like go monitor a parent at a school board meeting. They've never been told to set somebody up on behalf of the counterterrorism division to go grab someone who has really bad ideas online. They haven't had like created these fake white supremacy cases. And I've worked at least 20 of them around the country. I used to get sent out from Washington to go and sit and watch these guys. And they're mostly made up. You'd go and you'd be like, this guy's what, like a racist prepper? Like, you're allowed to be a racist. You're allowed to go and tweet racist stuff on Reddit. We may not want to be friends with them, but they didn't have that experience. So there are good people, no question. But is it the majority? And how many frontline supervisors told all the people that were Christians that said, I don't want to get the shot, you better go and do this nasal swab every 72 hours or you're going to be fired. You're going to lose your paycheck. So how many people were involved in that? And they actually put together what we've called the FBI Stasi, but they put 300 FBI agents. This is something Kash and Dan are going to have to go and validate at FBI headquarters to investigate FBI agents for not being compliant enough. So this is a real serious problem. And it's bigger than that. I mean, it goes to Plasmic Echo, which was going into Mar-a-Lago. It goes into Crossfire Hurricane. It goes into the Obama era, where at the end of 2016, Barack Obama changed the executive order that mandates the NSA's collecting. It allows them to get all the stuff that they get that is, secretive collection on U.S. telco. And it allowed the FBI to have direct access to unfiltered, raw, unminimized FISA. That didn't exist before I joined the Bureau. So when I joined, that was the only thing that I saw. And I'm talking about, like, I can look into Betty Johnson's email address and I can see what you're doing because you might have one contact somewhere who is on the FBI's list. Let's say someone from Iran reaches out to you and wants to look and have an interview with you, and you don't even answer the email. That's enough for me to justify opening an investigation into you and getting into your email. So that's the kind of thing we're up against. And it is a really, really ugly animal. And it serves itself. It doesn't serve the director, and it certainly doesn't serve the president, as we've seen. There's a reason why you're seeing the political left crying right now about all these government jobs. It's because they've turned all those institutions. They've captured them. Because when would you see a CNN headline like I saw this morning that said Donald Trump defunding certain areas is now going to reveal government secrets? And you're seeing the left celebrate the hiding of government secrets. We're living in the upside down because they've done that reversal since Obama.
So when the news broke that there were 5,000, correct me if I'm wrong here, 5,000 FBI agents that were involved in January 6th prosecutions, I said, you're just going to have to dismantle the FBI. I mean, you're effectively going to have to fire so many people, because what that proves to me that there are 5,000 agents that are willing to violate their oath entirely and to persecute, to persecute and torture their fellow Americans, like some type of sick experiment, World War II experiment, literally torture their fellow Americans for nothing. And not only that, but they were excited to do it.
So
they were happy about it, right?
Let me get the terms
willing,
right.
They were willing to lick the boots of what they viewed as institutional forever power, and to torture their fellow countrymen. And you can't fix that, right? And am I wrong?
Yeah, so let's do the what does the leftist fact checkers like to do? Needs context. Let's do that. So the word is not agents, it's employees. So 5,000 employees. That's going to include analytical personnel. That's going to include support personnel. And the way that they asked it is they said, can you get every person that is a case participant or a case manager? Case managers are agents almost exclusively. So those are the agents. But then you've also got people that are doing the background research and so on and so forth. 5,000 of about 38,000 total employees. So it's a smaller percentage than 5,000 of 14,000. That would be way worse for sure. And then some of those cases are probably okay. And in fact, I think you and I could probably agree that if you took a bat or tried to hit a cop on that day, or if you got out there and you took a weapon system and you tried to go and take a cop down, that's a pretty reasonable thing to investigate. It may not be something that we put a lot of priority into, but the FBI investigates assault on a federal officer all the time. So I'm giving you a mitigation here in a way to kind of understand this thing with fairness, because I think it's important. But the people that went out there and said, yeah, I'm going to take a trespassing case. And one of the things that's on my slide out here, the weaponization and covering up for this group called sedition hunters. What I was being told by my friends who work inside the Bureau right now, that even until January of this year, they were getting cases recommended that they open that would be articulated and predicated on a report from someone in sedition hunters, which was a group of people that went out there and tried to do facial ID of folks that were at the Capitol, trespassers and whatever else, like minor crimes that don't even amount to FBI's attention. And they sent these things out and they said, by the way, this is where the video is. Here's how we posted it. Do not reference the fact that this was in fact referred to us by the sedition hunters. Protect the identity of the people inside this group, which was probably being paid, as far as we can tell, by the FBI as a source. So now you've got people that are actually accusing Americans of a crime, and you're being told as an FBI agent not to actually cite the person that's accusing it, which is in fact a violation. So the real thing is not going to be like, oh, it's shocking that there's 5,000 people that would go and do an investigation that they were told to do. Some of those things are justifiable. What's crazy would be is that you forewent real fraud, real force, cartel cases, MS-13, Tres de Agua. If you were going to go and do a trespassing case and use your time, which is finite, on stupid things like that, and then also cover up for the people that were making the accusation because the FBI doesn't want to reveal that they weren't even doing the work on this, that it's being handed to them by somebody else. Those are the people that are the problem. So it's a little bit more sophisticated as far as a problem, and you're going to have to dig a little bit deeper. Should all of the people that are involved in J6 investigations be fired? No, I don't think so. Because if you were investigating a cop getting hit with a flagpole, I don't want cops hit with flagpoles. And I think if they just went after the 100 or 200 people that did that on that day, Americans would not have been that outraged. Because fighting with cops is kind of antithetical to being a conservative. We just like, hey, they're doing their job. I'm not really a big fan of the Capitol Police to begin with. I think they're just a glorified security guard. And I don't even know why they have investigative powers, because they're not under the executive. There's a lot of weird problems there. But if they're doing their job and you're doing your job, you don't want to get hit in the head with a flagpole or get hit with a bat or get run over or tear gassed. So all those things would be fine. What they did is they weaponized the government by making it go after people that it's never gone after in history. So they've turned a tide and turned a corner, crossed over something that has not been done previously. And that's where you've got this rot, because a lot of people signed on and were really excited about it. And some people just said yes when they should have said, what the hell are we doing here?
That's right. So that's what I'm asking, Kyle.
Yeah.
Like, what I'm asking is somebody who has such a storied history with the agency yourself and who really understands its workings and how it operates. My question to you is this: like, is it all just the Nuremberg defense? Like, where the hell was the single agent? Show me one effing agent that came forward to the media on a myriad, a buffet of illegal activities that occurred over the last 4 years, 10 years at the FBI. Like, show me the agents.
I can show you a couple of them.
That walked,
but you know their name.
That walked through. Yeah, I absolutely. We have whistleblowers on our program, but there was nothing at scale.
Correct.
There was total adherence from inside of the agency to everything from kneeling to BLM, which I still can never get this. When our audience thinks about the FBI, the current makeup of the FBI,
they think of Sarah Linden right there.
This is the image. This is the image they come up with. This is the image that's in their head.
Do you want to know something crazy, Benny? She got promoted.
FBI agents walking out kneeling to a terrorist organization. That's what we think. That's what people think about.
Yeah, she got promoted. She's now the Deputy Assistant Director of Counterintelligence. She's in charge of the Russia threat, apparently. Jeez. She took Peter Strzok's old job. So,
she's still employed?
Oh, of course. Yeah, for sure. All those people are. Most of them got promoted. They got league at jobs. They got supervisory roles. Like, you'll notice that it's mostly women, which is also kind of interesting. It's that moment. So I brought stuff like that forward too. I had other people come and validate. Those people all got gift cards from the FBI Agents Association. This is the same one that is out there working kind of quietly against Kash. It's so funny. People have this instinct that the FBI is one thing when in reality it's something else. It's an intelligence agency, right? They tell you that right up front. It's in the book that explains how to be an agent, which is called the DIOG. The DIOG is the Domestic Investigations Operations Guide. It's your handbook that's put out by DOJ. And the first thing they explain is FBI is intelligence agency. And the number one thing that intelligence agencies do is they gather information and they protect themselves, their ability to do their job. They don't want to share information. So secrets is part of the game right now. They don't actually think that Americans are entitled to this stuff. And that's why you see, if you ever have done a FOIA request, and I've done them, and you probably have as well for your show, you guys go out there and try to get some information. The number one thing they're going to do is just deny it, like categorically. And then you can fight, you can sue. I've done that as well. And you're going to end up getting almost nothing because the goal is to obscure and to obfuscate and to hide. When in reality, what we ought to do is say, listen, this is America's information. We pay for it. We pay your salaries. Having agents that don't think that they serve the Constitution first is the problem. My buddy Rob Green talks about institution over constitution. The FBI is massively guilty of that. So it's not even just the Nuremberg defense of I was following orders. It's a belief that the institution of the FBI is the end in and of itself. That's the reason that you are in the job, is because you are part of the FBI. And that starts day one at Quantico. They tell you nonstop. Like, I had the advantage of being 35 when I went in. So I was a little older. I had a little bit more knowledge about what was happening around me. And they would go, this is the best job in the world. Now, I'm an inquisitive guy and I'm kind of like an investigator at heart. So I would just go, oh, okay, well, what other jobs have you had? And they were like, I was working at the FBI before this, and I was an analyst. And I'm like, well, it's obviously the best job in the FBI to be an FBI agent. Like, that's not even up for debate. But is it the best job in the world? It's not. I used to be a financial guy working at Warner Brothers. That was the best job I ever had. I literally used to sit and have lunch 2 days a week at a table that was 3 away from, John Stamos. I was sitting next to Uncle Jesse, and I'd be like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I'm having really good food for cheap. I'm sitting on the Warner Brothers lot. There's pretty women all around me, and life's pretty good. Like, the weather's awesome, and I ride a motorcycle to work. That was pretty great as far as jobs go. So when they don't have any perspective, and they do this early, they hire people at 25, 26 years old. They're supposed to have 3 years of federal work experience, period. A lot of times it's federal. So you get people that have never had a job outside the government, when what they should be doing is getting people who are military veterans, law enforcement officers, people who understand that there is such a thing as an unlawful order. And interestingly enough, most of the whistleblowers that you've seen come forward, myself included, have a background in that, law enforcement or military. They spent time understanding that there are things that are wrong. And historically, people just following orders without questions is problematic. It's also not, I don't think, a coincidence that the people who got canceled for being whistleblowers, they all tend to be Christians who acknowledge a higher power, veterans who know that there's a right and a wrong and that you're not allowed to follow unconstitutional, unlawful orders, and law enforcement officers who understand things like, the Bill of Rights that you're theoretically swearing allegiance to when you take that oath. So this is what needs to be done. You need to fight this sort of institution over constitution attitude. And there's countless examples of this. And they've been covering it up. Whenever we brought forward, so I brought forward the fact that they investigated Catholics, right, in Richmond. I exposed this to people through another whistleblower who came through me. And rather than them saying, holy crap, we are investigating people in the Catholic Church and accusing them of being Latin mass goers and therefore white supremacists, they said, oh my God, we've got to find out who leaked this. And they went after Bob and removed him. He was thrown out of his office after 27 years as an FBI agent. He got kicked out, and he had all of his stuff taken out of his office, and they threw it on his front yard. And I got shown pictures of his front yard after the agents kicked it out because they wanted to send a message. Do not squeal on our little fraternity here. So that's what they're going up against. And I think it's interesting. I mean,
was there mass resignations after that?
Well, of course not. No, like everyone just kind of went like, well, he probably had it coming. I had someone actually explain that to me.
Right?
The instinct is if somebody gets a foul at the FBI and they work at the FBI, you sort of have this default feeling, well, it's probably their fault. And so that's the culture that Dan and Kash are going to be going up against. They are going in a very, very uphill battle, and it's one-sided because the institution has 38,000 people that work there, and there's some friendlies and some allies. And I've tried to direct them to the right people. But at the end of the day, you've got a culture shift that has to happen. And it is, they claim 108 years old. Actually, the FBI even lies about its own birthday, for whatever that's worth. So whatever that tells you. It was started in 1935 and they claim 1908. So you've got 100 years of subverting the cause that these two men are going to be fighting for. And it'll be really interesting to see how to do it. I'm rooting for them, like with everything I got.
Kyle, since you said that you have a list in front of you right now, I have to ask, can you just give us some of the top lines, like from your recommendations to the Bongino, Kash, and then Pam Bondi? Obviously, the FBI is the enforcement arm of the DOJ, so Pam's going to have a huge say in all of this.
Yep.
But where would you like to see him even begin to cut the
all
grass?
Right, So 300 in the FBI Stasi at FBI headquarters. This was also part of a thing that we called the insider threat weaponization. So they used the insider threat office to go and to basically attack people who were going to Congress. They accused people like me of being either a spy or a traitor, in the same way that Robert Hansen was. So that's pretty wild. We'd like to know about the abuse of the private jet that Chris Wray did. And people should understand that that's one of the things that actually should have probably gotten him impeached. And it has taken down FBI directors before. Information of investigations.
Using the private jet for personal reasons, vacations.
So you're allowed to use it supposedly, but what people don't realize is that Chris Wray would use the personal jet, or the FBI's $60 million Gulfstream 550, which seems like a really nice plane, by the way. And I've seen it up close, and it looks great. It's a nice way to travel, I'm sure. He would fly, let's say, back home, which he did every weekend or most weekends. And then he would pay whatever it costs for a Spirit Airlines flight from Washington, D.C. to Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, so he would reimburse the American taxpayers for the use of a $60 million jet like a couple $100 tops, like less than a coach fare if you could find it. And somebody else would go look up what that fare cost. So that's what he was reimbursing. The problem is what Chris Ray did, and we did a really good piece with Daily Wire, and a guy named Brandon Dre wrote it up for me. What he was doing is he was summoning a private jet. Like, this is really mundane stuff, but it looks like criminality to me because it's fraud, waste, and abuse at a massive scale, like over $1 million worth of it. He would summon the FBI's $60 million jet that is parked out in Manassas, Virginia. Okay, so it's just outside the Beltway. He would have it fly to Reagan, DCA and land because he didn't want to sit in traffic. Then he would board the jet. Then he would fly wherever he was going. Then the plane would fly back to Manassas. Now 3 flights for him to go one place, right? Then it would fly back and pick him up. Then it would fly to DCA, Reagan, drop him off, and then fly back to Manassas. So we have 6 flights for a guy to go down and back somewhere. And that happened at scale. Hundreds of times.
These jets cost hundreds of thousands of dollars per hour to operate.
I was told that it actually cost at least $2,500, but as much as 10,000 times every single time it touched down at Reagan, and all of them were basically unnecessary.
Wow.
So that's fairly crazy. Yeah, you guys did a good job of pulling this thing up. So that story's been out there for a couple years at this point. So these are mundane. Like I said, J6 transparency, that's on my list. Why did they require SWAT teams? Who made that policy? Who put out the memo that SWAT was going to be used on all J6ers? And the kind of, process is the punishment thing. That's a big deal. The Jeremy Brown case. How about the pipe bomber? How did the FBI decide that a guy who dropped 2 pipe bombs in the national capital region, guy or girl, whoever the hell it was, that person only was going to strike one time and never strike again, and we were never at risk or danger, and that the Capitol's not been in permanent danger of a pipe bomb being dropped somewhere? And somehow the cell phone signals.
Because we've done so many hours on the pipe bomber, and you and I haven't been able to talk about it live on the stream. What if I were to say, please give me your Jeopardy answer to what actually happened here? Can you? What happened with the pipe bomber? What was it? Was it an FBI op? Was it an op?
I don't think it was an FBI op, but there's definitely some interesting stuff. So let me tell you what I can corroborate. I was on a team that did surveillance on a person of interest for the pipe bomb case right away, like the day after or the next day after that.
Interesting.
So early January of 2021, my surveillance team out of Washington Field was put on a person. And here's how we were put on this person. What they said is the guy that we see, or the gal that we see walking around in that hoodie that we've seen in all the videos,
it's up right
took
now.
a Metro and jumped on a Metro. And the Metro, of course, has a timestamp, right? And has cameras. And you have to put a little Metro card in. And they can actually track the Metro card back to the original pay source, which in this case was a credit card. This is what was briefed to us out in Falls Church, Virginia, when we sat on this house. Okay. So that Metro card was tied out to a credit card. The credit card was the same name and address that was associated with the license plate that picked up this person as a car pulled up and picked them up in Virginia. And then we went to the address of the person that had that credit card and or license plate. Now, whether it was the same person that was driving the car, you could have somebody else drive your car, right? Somebody else could use your credit card to buy a Metro Pass. Somebody could take that Metro Pass and give it to somebody, but it's a heck of a place to start. And then the fact that we are told, oh, this is Steve D'Antuono. He was in charge of the Washington field office. He said, we have no ability to deal with any of the cell phone data that came out from the tower dumps that happened. We got 2 of the 3 providers, but not the third. And it seems like maybe the person was using the third. And then the cell phone company comes out and says, well, Congress asked us and we have it. Like, we got it for you. So what's the problem here? I don't know what the level of cover-up / incompetence was, but I know the FBI is too good at doing what they do. They found a bunch of J6ers who were literally just walking around on a camera and traced it back and found out that they lived in Omaha, Nebraska, and that they've never even committed a crime before. They didn't leave any evidence except their eyes behind a mask, or they were wearing like a beanie and you couldn't even see their face. And they were able to hunt those people down because they tracked them through the cameras to find the one time they took the mask down. If they found them, how could they not have found this person who did the single most terroristic thing that ever happened on January 6th?
Yes.
Dropping, theoretically, weapons of mass destruction, right?
I
don't believe they're that incompetent. I just don't.
There's one J6er, Kyle, that I will devote every resource of this program to personally. It's a finding. It is the pipe bomber.
For
There's
sure.
one person who behaved in a way that would have caused mass terrorism, right? And planted a pipe bomb. So let's believe the official story. Could have killed the vice president, right?
Theoretically.
Because theoretically, Kamala Harris walks right by the bomb. So,
and how do you take my team, which is sitting on someone that is going to hopefully get us there, and pull us off, which is what they did in the second week. They took us off and they said, you can't go watch this person anymore. You need to go back to your offices, sit out at the airport, and just look at your computer terminal and read random tips of people who hate conservatives and who hate Republicans that are coming in wholesale across the lines from West Virginia.
So
and that's what they did.
They had a hot lead, dead to rights, that had direct physical connections and transactions with the pipe bomber, and they pulled you.
Correct. And I said, I'm like, look, if you guys don't want to go talk to them, I will. I understand, like counterintelligence agents, counterterrorism agents, they work in national security. They get real cagey about going out and talking to people. I used to work in outside sales. I'm not exactly afraid of like knocking on a door and having a chat with somebody. I was like, supposedly this person was associated with the Air Force. I was an Air Force veteran. I'll go knock on the door and say, look, man, you probably got on the wrong side of this thing. Why don't you come in and help us out? Because we're trying to figure out so nobody gets hurt. And you wouldn't want that. But that wasn't what they did, as far as I know. Now, maybe they went back and did it after the fact. But I was in the Bureau for at least another year after that, and I never heard that ever got done. And I got friends that were on that surveillance team, and they were never put back out there again. That goes up to right now. That's never been done. So what the heck was that? So that's on my list of questions. There's other questions that are a little bit more sort of nebulous. The questions about honest services fraud. There's a woman named Amy Nelson who was a bundler for Barack Obama. She was on the political left and raised money for Obama. Her husband was targeted simply because Amazon went and leaned on the DOJ, and the DOJ prosecuted her husband, or threatened to prosecute him, took every penny they had, took their home, like bankrupted their bank accounts, and never once charged him with a crime. All because Amazon brought a briefing deck to the United States attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia and said, would you charge this guy? Because we really need to get out of a contract. It's going to cost us $100 million if we don't do it right. So they charged him and tried to get a bunch of people to admit to felonies. The federal courts have actually vacated the plea bargains in this. So there's some questions about her case and how people use what's called civil asset forfeiture. I'll tell you the legacy of the last 4 years under Biden, which is actually kind of incredible for conservatives. I think people who lean to the right in this country now have a brand new respect and empathy for people who have been targeted by our criminal justice system. I've talked to Proud Boys. I interviewed Joe Biggs this weekend. I talked to Stuart Rose. How many guys that were in that camp, veterans, guys who were kind of tough, law enforcement, law enforcement supporters, we're going to go out there and say, if somebody was accused, now I want to hear their story more. I want to know what they were about, because we now have this new sensitivity that maybe everything is actually just not that fair in this country.
Interesting.
And I think, honestly, that's a gift from God, to have a lot of empathy for our fellow man. It's a thing that didn't exist before. I'm actually grateful for 4 years of Joe Biden, because I think if we had Donald Trump back to back, we wouldn't be where we are right now. We wouldn't have the energy. We'd have basically an obstructionist Congress instead of an American people that saw 4 years of evil. And I do think it was very evil, that are pissed off and want to see, let's not say retribution, let's say accountability. And some transparency. And I do hope that's what we're going to see. I think we've got two guys that are there that at least have been talking the talk and walking it as much as possible. Now they're in a position to actually do something about it. So like I said, it's an uphill battle, but I want to see him win.
So you're saying that the first major battle and the real battle will be within the FBI itself and against this ecosystem.
Culturally, 100% that. Yep.
Okay. I got to ask one more, Kyle, since I had you on, since it's such a lightning in a bottle, right, for social media. It's what we asked Pam Bondi. It's something that obviously Kash has been talking about for a long time. And the Epstein list and the protection of it, but more globally, the protection of predators, actually, with the FBI. This seems like something that really connects with the American people. There are so many families, so many fathers out there. It seems like some of the sickest and darkest crimes done at the expense of children. Do you think that we'll actually get the Epstein list? Do you have any indication of what actually happened with Jeffrey Epstein? Why is the FBI, who we've seen like raiding all of Epstein, the first people on the scene is the FBI, right? In the Manhattan apartment, in New Mexico, and the island. They're going in, they're hoovering up terabytes of data, every camera, every hard drive, every CD-ROM, and nothing, right? Like, why? Like, what can we expect next, given your pedigree here with the FBI?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, like broadly talking about that topic, which is that you mentioned it earlier, Mossad, sort of Israel intelligence operations going on in the FBI. Yeah,
we only know what we're told.
We know what we're told, and
that people on the intel committees, yeah.
And it plays along very well with the way that Israel and the United States work in these spaces, because Israel is a very much like in a frenemy type space. There are things where Israel is beneficial to the United States, and we want them to be successful. There's times when they're stealing technology and they're working against us. So they are a kind of this weird target where you don't really mind if they're succeeding, but you also got to try to stop them from doing something and overreaching. They have access to the cookie jar, but not all of it. And so Israel is an interesting animal, and they're kind of unique in the counterintelligence space because they do operate that way. They look out for Israel, number one, and they don't play the same way as the other allies we have. So yes, I've heard the same things you have. I can't substantiate it. I didn't work on those cases. The FBI is pretty good at compartmentalizing those things. So we can say that, is it within the purview or the capabilities of the Israeli intelligence sphere to do, sort of sextortion or sexual blackmail? For sure. I mean, everybody's heard it, and it's not because it's made up, right? That's a real thing. Was he probably working in that way? Most likely. Yeah, I think that makes sense from everything that I've been able to see. Do I have any hands-on evidence? No. What I also know is that what I told you earlier, as an intelligence agency, the default position is we're not going to tell you. So there may be some really good faith reasons why. I've got friends that worked on the national evidence collection teams that were out of on the East Coast. They would get on that jet that Chris Wray likes to take around, and they would fly out to go do evidence collections in places on things like, let's say, the Las Vegas shooting that people get really conspiratorial about, and they want to know a lot of questions. They didn't have any of the questions that folks do. And these are military veterans, guys who went downrange, who have buried a lot of friends in Arlington, like solid human beings that do not have any nefarious capabilities, at least when it comes to what I understand about them. And they just don't have the same questions that others do, but they can't talk about it. And the one thing you mentioned, why do these people not come out to the media? You'll lose your job, not only, and you'll probably go to prison. There are NDAs that you sign that say you can't even talk about FBI casework. It's one of the things that was lobbed against me when people first started hearing my story. They're like, well, how the hell do you get to go out there and say it? There's two reasons why I did. Number one, I ignored the NDA because right after I signed the NDA, they gave me another piece of paper that said, you've been relieved of your duties and responsibilities as an FBI employee, which I took to mean also relieve me of that problem. And my attorney and I kind of made a calculated guess to say, we're going to just get loud. We're going to just try to talk. And the second thing is I redefined what success looked like. Most people who work from the FBI and get crushed, they want to get their job back. And I looked at it and said, well, that was cool. I got to do that for 6 years. Like, I'm not going to probably be able to go back. Who's going to go back to someone that stabbed you in the back? So when you redefine those terms, you change the kind of the state of play. We are in a different state. No doubt about it. Some of the whistleblowers like Steve Friend, who's been on this program, Garrett O'Boyle, who I know you guys have like queued up, guys like me that have come forward and said, we're not going to play by the same rules because we're willing to take on some cost. It's been a little bit of a game changer. And then getting a guy like a Kash Patel and having a Bongino in there who come from the outside and are looking to change the game, like that could be a sea change. And I really hope it is. But are we going to get a total uphill like swing where everybody's going to come out and go, by the way, I worked on this case and let me just tell you what happened. Here's what happened at the Epstein Ranch. Here's what happened for that terrorist cell that was hanging out in New Mexico. Here's what that's just not the way they operate. And some of them is because of legitimate sensitivities that they don't need to expose. And some of them is because the culture says it's not America's information. We don't believe that because we're the FBI and we're the keepers of records. And we're going to tell you, it's like a priesthood almost. Like we'll keep the inner secrets and we'll protect them because you can trust us. We just don't trust them anymore. Like I don't, and I don't think you do either.
So it's gonna be a wild season, man.
It's gonna be 2 years of a total, like we're dealing with two things at once. We're dealing with a hostile takeover in the business sense of coming in with one company coming in and trying to take over another company and all of its culture. And we're also going to be dealing with what I would call a counterinsurgency for all my GWAD veterans out there. We're dealing with a hearts and mind campaign to try to get the people that otherwise would align with what we're talking about doing and getting them on board. And that is going to be, those are two really, really big fights at once. And they're not unwinnable at all. So lest anyone think otherwise, but they're not like an assured victory either. It's going to be a uphill battle every single day, pushing that stone, trying to make some progress.
I really look forward, Kyle, to having you on the program with extreme regularity to explain this. This has been incredibly insightful. Just listening to your answers, it's very, very, very measured, and it's so good to have somebody who really understands the true problem inside of the bureau itself, and isn't just like swinging for the fences. Because I lived in DC for 20 years, man. This stuff is hard. Like this is like the heart of darkness. And you need.
There's a lot of hyperbole out there.
Some real sober approaches to it, or you'll get nothing done. You might be able to get a headline, but you'll never see the Epstein. You'll never see the inside of how it actually works and what's the problem was. So, Kyle, we'll be hitting you up all the time. So please come back and explain these things to us and to our audience. And you should follow Kyle. Also, ladies and gentlemen, nearly 200,000 Americans already do. And it's been an honor, man. The January 6th stuff, the pipe bomber stuff just blew my mind. I had no idea. That's insane.
It gets even weirder when you find your own name being referenced when Tom Massey is out there talking to your former boss, and he randomly brings me up out of nowhere as if to discredit something I said. The best part was he said, I don't know what Kyle Seraphin knows about explosives. And it's like, well, I got about 100 hours with the demo training, which I'm pretty sure is more than he has. I've used C4, I've used dynamite, things like that. I'm fairly confident that a former accountant who now works as an accountant who used to be in the FBI probably doesn't have a ton of experience with demo, but it's been such a real weird ride. I look forward to talking to you again.
Kyle Seraphin, man, shedding light on all this. Thank you, sir. Godspeed.
Yep. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been just locked in, and I just gotta give sort of a apology to, how we do the show, man. We just get on a dog with a bone. We're as interested and curious as you are, and we bring on these experts. And our incredible producer and booker Kara has like, let's go in with the FBI, and I have so many questions that I want answered. And so we just let it roll, right? For moments like these, Patriot Mobile is obviously the phone company that keeps us connected. We were chilling with Patriot Mobile at CPAC, actually. It was like they keep us rolling, they keep us locked in, and so much of the content that we did was filmed on our Patriot Mobile phones in Washington, D.C., uploaded, locked in, and connected. And of course, we're not funding the left when we're using our Patriot Mobile phones because they're the only Christian conservative wireless provider in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, when you use Patriot Mobile, you support the First and Second Amendments, the sanctity of life, our veterans and first responders. Switching is easy. Right now, go to patriotmobile.com/Benny, call 972-PATRIOT, get a free month of service with the promo code Benny. Switch to Patriot Mobile today to defend freedom with every single call or text that you make. Visit patriotmobile.com/Benny, call 972-PATRIOT. Ladies and gentlemen, Garrett O'Boyle is a FBI whistleblower, former FBI agent, who is joining the program for the first time. It's our great honor to have him. Our cup runneth over today. Let's go. Garrett, I just want to thank you for your patience today. It's just been so rapid fire, and we weren't actually planning on doing like a full FBI show, but now that the team is coming together, it's been really exciting, and it's got to be exciting for you. Put your entire career and life on the line, actually, by becoming a whistleblower and exposing so much of the heart of darkness. This has got to be like a day of great redemption for you.
Benny, it's an interesting day. There's an old Chinese proverb that says, "May you live in interesting times," and they mean that as a curse. And in a lot of ways, so 2 days from now, it'll mark 29 months since I'd been suspended. And to follow up, Kyle. For those of you who listen to your show, they may know Kyle and I kind of have a storied past together at this point. And if it wasn't for him kind of leading the charge for us FBI whistleblowers, I probably wouldn't even be here right now. But it's a weird, interesting, unique, special time.
So, I want to sort of branch out, and maybe next time we just do a panel, right, with you and you and Kyle. Maybe we'll just let you guys roll. Let's just do that for the hour, right? It's like there's so many angles to go at with the FBI. We did a whole breakdown of Dan Bongino's like 17 different things he wants to investigate right now, given the fact that you've been inside of the building, and Dan Bongino has never been an FBI agent. It's worked obviously in federal law enforcement, but not with the FBI. Where would you advise him to start? Right? Like, where would you advise? And the deputy director of the FBI is a very, very powerful position. Where would you begin, Garrett?
Right. For all intents and purposes, the deputy director is the one who's running the day-to-day operations, or at least overseeing them. So Dan is going to have a huge responsibility because, as you mentioned, he'd never worked in the FBI before. So there's going to be a learning curve for him as well. Same as with Kash. I'm sure they recognize this. So one, they're going to have to surround themselves with good, solid, strong, patriotic FBI personnel. But at the same time, good luck finding those. Kyle and I and Steve Friend, who I know you've had on, we've sort of helped to some degree with vetting certain people and giving our input to Kash, and hopefully they will listen to some of that. But the biggest issue from my view is now that these guys, Dan and Kash, are in the building, so to speak, in the Hoover building, that is where the corruption is worst. That is where around every turn, there's going to be a viper trying to poison them. And these people, especially in that area, this is what they live for. They live for this type of subversion. And it started on November 5th. All of us have heard from people inside the agency more than maybe ever before since we got suspended or quit or whatever else with the other guys. But more and more people are reaching out and telling us information and saying who to watch out for, giving names, giving things that are happening right now to try and thwart the administration, and now to try and thwart the naming of Dan Bongino as deputy director and Kash Patel being sworn in last week as the director.
Wow, this is fascinating stuff. I mean, obviously you don't want to betray your sources or what's happening without measure, right? We as a program would be happy to break any news that you bring to us and to help in this fight. But can you maybe give us a closer in perspective as to what the subversion is happening inside of the building right now? I mean, it's obviously you're going to have like an antibody reaction to somebody
Absolutely.
like Kash.
I'll give you a big one that I heard recently, which was already passed on, is that there are FBI servers that are sort of standalone, and people inside the FBI have been working night and day to destroy files on these servers. And I was told that once these files are destroyed, the way they are set up, that even Elon Musk could not restore them. So that's happening right now as we speak. That's happening with Kash Patel being the director. It was happening before he got there. And so that subversion, like I said, started immediately. And it's only going to continue. These people, here's another example. I was told last week, right out of the gates, Kash Patel came out and said 1,500 people, 500, you're going to Alabama. You're still going to be headquarters personnel. You're going to Alabama. 1,000 of you, you're going out to the field. He said this long before the election, even, that he said if he was in charge, he would say, let cops be cops. And so go out and be cops. Already people are saying, we are not going to comply with that. We are going to make it seem as if we transferred. We're going to do what they call, quote unquote, paper transfers. And we're not going to obey these lawful orders. I don't know if you heard Stephen Miller in the last few days. He came out and has given a great civics lesson on Article 2 of the Constitution. The FBI falls under the executive branch. And you have these career bureaucrats who say, no, we answer to no one. Well, hopefully that's going to change. And I think under Kash Patel and Dan Bongino leadership, I think it will. But they've got to root out this subversion first.
Any idea what's on the servers that's so damning that it has to be siloed into such a secure facility with the lack of redundancy or capacity for anybody to go through and sort of from forensic, like digital forensics, right? You can uncover most data that's deleted, you can uncover it in some capacity. So somebody's worked very hard to make sure that this data that you're talking about can be deleted and destroyed forever. Any idea what it is?
No idea on what it is. I can only speculate, but you mentioned the Epstein list. I'd imagine it's cases like that. It's intel cases that are very siloed, very secretive. And I'm sure there's probably even information regarding the FBI's own subversive measures against Americans, against American politicians, for instance. We learned over the last few days that the Oval Office was bugged, and they took out the Resolute desk to inspect it more. Who's doing that type of thing, Benny? It's going to be, if they're operating at all as they should be, it's going to be the FBI, because they're the domestic agency. Now, is it beyond the CIA or NSA playing a role? No, not at all, because I think all of these agencies at this point do not have the best interest of the American public in mind. That's something that the Trump administration is trying to change, but it's going to be an uphill battle, I believe, for the entire term.
Yo, it's crazy that you just said that. I'm not going to reveal who, but somebody who works inside of the West Wing came up to us in a private setting when we were in DC and said, you would not believe the number of times that my office has to be swept for bugs.
It's crazy.
And inside the White House has to be swept by agencies to figure out if there's electronic monitoring that's happening to us on a daily basis. It's crazy, man. Okay, so can it be reformed? I guess this is where Kyle went. Kyle immediately hit out who cares about all the rest of this stuff? Your enemy is inside of the building, Can it be reformed? And then how does it get reformed? Is it mass firings? Do you burn it down to cinders and then rebuild? Like, what happens, Garrett?
Right. I lean towards no. I don't think it can be reformed. My faith is a huge component of why I'm in this position at this point. By no means am I a perfect man, Benny. I'm far from it. My kids and wife will verify that. But I think of in the book of Jeremiah where it says, the heart of man is deceitful above all things. It's desperately sick. Who can understand it? And so when you have an institution that one doesn't even, or the majority of the people don't even look to a higher power, of course they're going to have a desperately sick and deceitful heart. So I don't think it can be reformed. That being said, I'm not saying let's not try, because I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for Dan Bongino and Kash Patel to bring in massive reform and change. Still, I don't know if it will stick long term. I think historically, if you look at any government, if you look at any police or law enforcement or intelligence entity that has the power of a place like an FBI, they always turn into a secret police organization. And I believe that the FBI has been marching down that road for a very long time.
So, I mean, I guess institutionally, the follow-up to that in conclusion would be you could turn the entire agency inside out by taking those secret police powers and weaponizing them against those who behaved criminally over the last few years. I mean,
absolutely.
A couple frog marches is pretty powerful, and there is just basic human nature. Yeah, I'm a father as well. Nobody wants to be deprived of the freedom to raise your children. Most people have pressure points, and even the most evil institutions can be flipped on their heads when you realize that no one's safe, and maybe it's time to out the people that behaved criminally. I'm an optimistic dude. Garrett, I'm an optimistic dude at heart, right? So it's like I straight up admit my silver lining sort of look on the world, but it does seem like a couple of key arrests or a couple of key departures or a couple of key charges, may prevent, I don't know, wasn't the FBI leaking on one of the raids on Tren de Aragua?
Right. Absolutely, yeah.
You arrest that person. You destroy their life forever. You make them an anathema, right? You fraud, that just seems like a good starting place, right?
I absolutely think that could help. If there's one thing I recognized during my time in the FBI is that I'll use the word cowards. Most people there are cowards, but perhaps it is just that complicity, those pressure points that you mentioned. And I point to COVID for this because there were roughly 3,000 people in the FBI who said, no, this is a hard no for me. I'm one of those people. We were all put on a list. Oddly enough, Kyle, Marcus Allen, Steve Friend, those two guys I testified with, a number of others who are unknown to the public. Our common thread was we said, I'm a hard no on putting in substance into my body that I have religious reasons as to why I don't want to do it, or just bodily autonomy reasons as to why I don't want to do it. And you trying to force me to do it is a hard no. I'm willing to give it all. I'm willing to sacrifice my career for that. Most people just said, that's too big of a hill for me. And so they just complied. And so I think if you start actually holding people accountable, my favorite example today, which it'll change tomorrow, I'm sure, but right now it's Eitan Haim, the doctor whistleblower out of Texas, who came forward with the transgender information that was really in violation of Texas law. There's an FBI agent named Paul Nixon. That case could have started and ended with Paul. But instead, he weaponized his position like a good secret police operative and said, nope, we're going to go after this guy, even though it's an unreasonable. And that case has been dismissed now. But it was years of their life, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in lawyer fees and other fees, and then living under that threat of, am I going to be able to raise my daughter?
Yes.
Thankfully for them, it was dropped by the current DOJ, but people need to be held accountable now.
Well, I mean, we're thankful that we have an audience that is so rabidly prepared to hold these people accountable. We're waiting for the shoe to drop, and we have a feeling it'll drop in spectacular fashion, and we'll be able to actually hang, scalps proverbially of the people who did that. And that's how you actually start. That's how you change the culture, actually, right?
Absolutely.
You make people pay. And the left sure as hell understands this.
They do. You're absolutely right about that. And this is the piece that maybe shame on me. I swore that oath to the Constitution twice as an infantryman in the Army, once as a police officer and once as an FBI agent. Every time I did it, I actually meant it, and I thought everybody else around me did. I learned emphatically with the FBI that wasn't the case. So hopefully that will change.
Garrett, just like with Kyle, we really hope that, the audience is going to grow to love you. I hope everybody goes and follows Garrett, one of the few people that you could actually properly classify as brave, who stands up against the heart of darkness here and put everything on the line in order to speak the truth. We hope that you're on regularly and you can explain these things to us from your expert perspective, because I think we're going to be in for a wild ride here, man.
I think you're right. Thanks for having me, Benny.
All right. God bless you, man.
You too.
Woo, baby. Got some very interesting news. I mean, it's like too much happening right now. Obviously, the FBI, these federal agencies, the corruption they're in, the rot, it's been something we've literally devoted the show to. So it's a worthwhile. We have like 50 other things we wanted to get to. Let's just do a top line real fast. MSNBC has canceled Joy Reid's show. Oh, man. It's all collapsing. And also, Lester Holt has decided that it's over for him on NBC Nightly News. It's one of those jack wagons who did everything they could to rig the election against President Trump. This was breaking news. The Lester Holt news broke while we were live on the show. MSNBC canceling Joy Reid's show. That broke yesterday. And so everything is collapsing in real time. It's exciting. This is what you want to do. This is a all-out war, all-out lightning war that is intended on making them contract. When your lines are stretched too thin, when you've conquered too much, your lines get weak, your soldiers get fat and out of shape, and what you can do is then you can pincer in weak points, and you can just attack so quickly that the whole sides fall down. And so we're making them retreat, and it's so very exciting. There's somebody who made Joy Reid retreat live on camera. It's our friend Ben Berkwam. Ben, with Real America's Voice, talked to Joy Reid about her Donald Trump helmet hair that gets placed on her head every morning. And the exchange was just perfect. Here we go.
Joy, just wondering, do you think people with Trump derangement syndrome know they have it?
You're an idiot.
And second question, did you steal Trump's haircut or did he steal yours? Cultural appropriation haircut right there. She didn't like that too much.
Oh, man. Do we have the Lester Holt news, please? Can we pop that up? No, I just want to pivot. I just want to punch through on an article with that. Thank you. So it's in the production chat, Klein. So we're going to be ready to rock here today. We have plenty of more news to get to. President Trump is doing a meeting with Emmanuel Macron, and he's going to be going live for a press conference here. And so we look forward to covering that. Lester Holt won't be covering that. Lester Holt stepping down as the anchor for NBC's Nightly News. Uh-oh. Oh, boy. MSNBC and NBC collapsing and failing. Meanwhile, our show, well, we're rip-roaring, baby. To the moon, as they say. And so we remain vigilant, stay locked in, keep our priorities straight on this program. Unlike NBC, our verse of the day, ladies and gentlemen, Exodus 14:14. The Lord will fight for you. You only need to be still. The light of the Lord, ladies and gentlemen, is always going before us. And we can be confident in that. It's a constant battle that we've had on this program over the last 4 years. Has been covering some of the darkest and some of the most some of the saddest truly moments in American history. President Trump mugshots and thrown in prison and assassinations and political assassinations, impeachment assassinations, physical assassinations, legal assassinations. The movement attacked on all sides. Obviously the forces of darkness seemingly growing in power, insurmountable sometimes at times, and the only thing that would keep you ever on the straight and narrow would be actually trusting in God. Let the Lord fight for you, and then be an army of happy warriors that you cannot defeat, ladies and gentlemen. Cannot defeat an army of happy warriors. Please join our army. Join the Benny Brigade. Go to BennyJohnson.com if you wish to support us in the work that we're doing here. Very, very proud of going to Washington, D.C. and just letting her rip and just having so much productivity in that city. Lots of moving targets. And we delivered for you. We will be your front seat to the golden era. Sign up for the Benny Brigade today for the price of a Chick-fil-A waffle fry. This is just a small way that we can remain in touch and connected with you, and we're thankful for you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be live for President Trump's press conference. It's going to be here in the next 2 hours. We expect it to be, sometimes these things get delayed, and so expect us live once more. We want to be your front seat to the golden era, and it is an honor to fight with you every single day. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Done more to expose the deep state than me. Not going to allow you to be misled.
It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.